Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you, and in the today's video we are going to discuss entire analysis of Hindu. We will take all the articles along with the background as well as way forward. Now, first of all, I would also like to tell you that you can download explainer notes of this entire session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box in YouTube. Now, first of all, let's take overview of entire newspaper so that we can understand that which article is actually important for our examination. Now here we have the first page. Here we have this article, No Governors Assent Manipur Assembly Session a Non-Starter. So basically guys, understand this particular thing that assembly session in Manipur was to be conducted, and the state cabinet of the state council of minister has advised the governor in Manipur that the assembly session should be convened. But assembly session has not been convened. It is because of the fact that the law and order problem in Manipur is still not congenial, and many of the legislators they have provided that way might not be able to come. So therefore, the assembly session has not been convened. One thing. Second thing, guys, understand this thing that as per constitution, it has been provided that there need not to be more than 6 months, not more than 6 months of gap between two assembly sessions. Now, the last assembly session that happened, okay, was the last assembly session that has happened. Fine. Since then, September 1 will mark the 6 month period. So, after the September 1, there has to be the session. Otherwise, it will lead to a constitutional breakdown. But situation is not congenial. So, therefore, session is not being held. Okay. So, this is guys about it. And here just Article 174. You need to keep in mind, which provides that the house or the houses of the legislature shall be summoned to meet twice in 1 year, or 6 months, or maximum period between the two sessions has to be 6 months, not more than that. So this is something. Beyond that, no need to go and track too much of this particular detail. After that, Supreme Court to constitute a new bench to hear Kaveri water issue. So basically, guys, this article talks about the Kaveri water issue between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, where Tamil Nadu has demanded the Kaveri water share in the month of August because of the rainwater, because the rains were not very much good and there was the water scarcity. So Supreme Court will constitute a new bench. Okay. As of now, just Supreme Court has provided that we will constitute a new bench. Nothing more important than that has been there. However, guys, when we talk about the water board, water disputes, okay, they have been a legacy historical issue that always is relevant between the states. Okay. Interstate issues. Then Chandrayaan 3 reveal dark side of the moon. Okay, so Chandrayaan 3 has been launched, and we have discussed yesterday also one full page article on Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan 3 is expected to land on moon on August 23. Now, as the descent of Chandrayaan 3 has begun on moon, it has sent some pictures of moon. So these pictures are of the dark side of moon. What is this dark side of moon? Dark side of moon is that side which is never visible from the earth. Okay, so that is the dark side of the moon. So they have sent that picture, and on in that particular picture there is this particular region Hain. Okay, so if a question comes that the Hain was recently news where this region is located, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, it is on moon. Beyond that, guys, nothing much important is there. Just they have sent the photographs. That just thing is provided. Okay. After that, moving on, daily wager to medical student, and then we have the city section. In city section we have regional issues, these advertisements, and all such kind of a things have been given. So we don't have much important articles here. Largely these tenders, advertisements are there. Coming to editorial section. In editorial, first article talks about Brics. We'll take this particular article for exam. Now this article talks about the failure to hold assembly session, shows the depth of crisis going on in Manipur. Okay, so that same issue is there. Then the Saudi Arabia UAE divide becomes public. We'll take this article. Then this side article talks about the FIFA's Women World Cup. Then decoding the president's speech. Okay. So basically, guys, the article doesn't contains much of academic substance for our examination. It is just talking about just it is talking about the speech made by president. Okay, and word by word analysis, dissection of the speech is being done, okay, that this word was used in place of this word was used in place of this word. Fine. So academic substance relevant for our exam is not there in this article, so I'll not advise you to go too much in detail there. Then after that, the superpower of OTT platforms. Okay, so article says that 76.7% of parents, they said that their children are using mobile phone to just play video game. Okay, so understand this thing, that we see this particular thing, that after pandemic, online education, virtual education has become very much important. Okay, many such platforms has also emerged. Okay, now understand this thing, technology is being used. Some places technology is very good. It can be used for medicine, it can be used for education, but at the same time these devices are also being used for other things also. For example, students spending disproportionate time on playing games, on consuming media, which is also often not age appropriate to them. Okay, so article is talking about, okay, that same language subtitling, fine, on the content is an opportunity. Okay, and can give good literacy to students, but at the same time also students are using the mobile phones, etc., to play games. Then moving on, text and context page. On smartphone manufacturing in India, this article will be talking about production linked incentive scheme. Then further moving on, what are the concerns about drilling in North Sea, we'll take this article also for exam. Recent parliamentary election in India, a closer look. So basically, guys, recently a paper was published, Democratic Black Sliding. Now, here what is happening? So basically, the pattern in 2019 election, fine, how much percentage of Muslim vote went to X party, Y party, BJP's performance, how BJP has crafted their strategy for 2019 election, such kind of things have been given. Now, guys, the article is having a political undertone, political connotations, and the article doesn't contains that type of substance which is relevant for our examination. You need to understand this thing, that the politicized views, politicized articles are not to be read for our examination. Academic articles are something that you need to go in. Then moving on, Supreme Court panel flags loss of essential documents of people in Manipur. Then moving on, guys, here we have one more article. All eyes on possible Xi Modi meet as PM reaches South Africa today. So we'll take this article along with one editorial article that is there on Brics. Along with that, we'll take it up. More jobs available, people moving to higher income groups, says Modi. So Prime Minister had said this thing, that Indian economy is growing. And if we take the data from income tax returns of people, we find this particular thing, that people income has tripled during his tenure. Okay, so this is something that has been provided here. Then after that, moving on, women and baby crushed to death. So the Uttarakhand landslip, in Himachal Pradesh also there have been high rainfalls. Because of that also, a lot of such tragedies have happened. Uh, Here, there is this one article, ICSSR to develop Indianized research methodology tools. We'll take this particular article for examination. Then further, ICMR studies post-COVID mortality. Fine, nothing much important for exam has been given here in this article again. Then on world page, nurse who killed 7 newborn in her care jailed for life in Britain. So the serial killer nurse, fine. Now she had killed several of the children by injecting air in by giving them air injections, by giving them insulin, by poisoning their milk. So this is something which basically this shows the lack of biomedical ethics in this particular person. Okay, then moving on, Pakistan to compensate 100 Christians who lost their homes in riots. Nothing much important for exam has been given. Then further, moving on in this direction, amid air traffic rebound, jet fuel demand yet to catch up. Now here we have an article, India-Asean agree to review goods trade pact by 2025. We'll take this article. Then we have these largely the corporate trends, etc. And then we have the sports page. So this is, guys, overview. And now let's discuss all relevant articles which are important for our examination one by one in detail. And as I told you, you can download synoptic notes. So this is synoptic. Okay, so this is the synoptic notes as we are talking about. You can download them from our Telegram channel. Every class we take a we take a GS quotation which can be used to complement our answers in GS papers or in essay. Today we'll take quotation from Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer says, ethics is the activity of man directed to secure the inner perfection of his personality. What ethics is? Ethics is the activity of man. Ethics is a particular type of way of living by which a person brings perfection of his personality. That ethics is all about. You can use this particular quotation directly in topic number 1, ethics and human interface, in GS paper number 4. Fine, moving on. Taking up first article for today. Okay, and before that, guys, just a brief announcement. As you already might be knowing, so we are starting our ethics foundation batch, ethos, from tomorrow, that is August 23rd. And if you wish to enroll in this batch, you can simply enroll by filling the Google form. And after you fill the Google form, you would be guided for the admission process. Now, the first article for today, on smartphone manufacturing in India. Now, before going on in this article, let's take some of basic background information and then we'll go in this article's detail. So, understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about any country, manufacturing sector, manufacturing sector is economic backbone of any country. It is economic backbone of any particular country. Now, when we talk about, guys, the developed countries that we have today, these developed countries, countries such as of Europe, countries of North America, you take example of Japan, developed countries, they have went through the process of industrial revolution. But India never saw industrial revolution. So therefore, India's manufacturing sector never got scaled up. Now, when we talk about India, at the eve of independence, that is in 1947, more than 70 more than 75% people of India, according to different estimates, we have different data, some estimates even provide 80%, but according to a lot of data, more than 75% of people, they were actually involved in agriculture sector. But agriculture sector in India has always been very low paying avenue because of because of small land holdings, because of less use of technology, because of less productivity of our fields and all such kind of a things. So basically, guys, our next focus after the independence was was to bring economic reforms, and in that economic reforms, the manufacturing sector was to be grown. But always there were many problems with respect to manufacturing sector also. For example, labor laws were not very much liberal in India. Then after that, infrastructural problems were there. Then the government policies were also not very much congenial for industry. So therefore, what happened? We directly jumped from agriculture sector to service sector. We directly jumped to agriculture sector to service sector. Because when we talk about service sector doesn't needs that much infrastructure and all such kind of a thing. So we jumped from agriculture sector to service sector, and today when we talk about India's GDP, more than 60% of GDP is contributed by the service sector. Point is that we never achieved industrial revolution in India. We never scaled up the manufacturing sector in India. Now, when you talk about manufacturing sector has a multiplier effect. Now, first of all, manufacturing sector can absorb a large number of workforce. Okay, manufacturing sector has a multiplier effect. You spend 1 rupee in manufacturing sector, it will give you dividend of 3 rupee, 4 rupee. It has a multiplier effect. Now government is specifically focusing on manufacturing sector, and as government is focusing on manufacturing sector, we came out with Make in India. We came out with Make in India. Now, what is the goal of Make in India? Make in India goal is to increase the share of manufacturing sector in our GDP to 25%. To 25%. As of now, manufacturing sector contributes around 18 to 19% in our GDP. So we want manufacturing sector should contribute to 25%. And there are 25 dedicated manufacturing industries that will be focused in Make in India. So this Make in India was going on. After, guys, as this Make in India was going on, what happened? What happened? To complement Make in India, government came out with one more initiative for manufacturing sector, that is PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Now, what is this Production Linked Incentive Scheme? Under Production Linked Incentive Scheme, government will provide incentives to manufacturers that they should come in India and they establish their manufacturing facilities, they establish their shops in India. Okay, now what happens under production linked incentive scheme? We are giving 2 to 6% of incentive on incremental sale. What does this means? What does this means? For example, for example, last year your sale, let's say I am making mobile phones, and last year my sale of mobile phone, or I sold 100 crore rupees of mobile phone, 100 crore rupees of mobile phone. This year I have sold 200 crore rupees of mobile phone. What is the additional mobile phones that I have sold? What is my incremental sale? My incremental sale is 100 crore rupees. Last year 100, this year 200 extra. 100 crore rupees is incremental sale. So on this 100 crore rupees, 2 to 6% of incentive will be provided to me under this production linked incentive scheme. So what government is trying to do? Government is trying to attract the manufacturers to India, that you come in India, you establish your factory in India, will give you incentive under production linked incentive scheme. So under this, we have brought mobile phone industries, we have included semiconductors, fine, and many other manufacturing we have included. Now, this particular article is specifically talking about the smartphone manufacturing in India. Okay, now there is a little bit of a background. Let me tell you that background also. So recently, what has happened, many of economists, including the former Reserve Bank of India chief, RBI governor, Mr. Raghuram Rajan, they have criticized government, saying this particular thing, that government is just creating the low paying jobs in India. And they also have criticized government's claim that we have increased the smartphone manufacturing, mobile phone manufacturing in India by using production linked incentive scheme. They have criticized that also. Okay, so this is that particular article, and this article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, critical analysis of India's manufacturing manufacturing policy, as well as critical analysis of PLI, production linked incentive scheme. So there we'll take this particular article. I hope that first of all, this background is clear. Guys, please tell me in the comment box, is this background clear or not? Please tell me here. Okay, then we'll move forward. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Now, I already told you that manufacturing sector is an important ingredient. It is a key ingredient for economic growth of any nation, and it has a multiplier effect. You you create more jobs in manufacturing sector. When you create more jobs in manufacturing sector, people will get higher wages. They will spend that higher wages and will demand goods. As they will demand goods, that demand will create even more industries, will create even more jobs. Fine. So basically, manufacturing sector has a big multiplier effect in every nation. Now, government has come out with the carrot and stick approach. Carrot and stick approach to improve the manufacturing sector. What is carrot and stick? Carrot and stick means that on one hand, you will give some reward, on another hand, you will give some punishment. So what is this carrot and stick of India? Number one, what India did, India increased the import duties on importing mobile phone, importing laptops, importing PCs, tablets, everything. So this is a stick. This is a kind of a punishment. At the same time, India is giving incentive to manufacture mobile phone, tablet, smartphones in India. That is the carrot. And here comes the production linked incentive scheme, which I just told you few minutes back, where 2 to 6% of incremental incentives are, where 2 to 6% of incentive on incremental sale is provided. So this is the carrot and stick policy. And because of this particular thing, large number of manufacturers of mobile phone have actually come to India also. Now here, if we see this particular thing, guys, Micromax, Samsung, Foxconn. Now, by the way, Foxconn is one of the biggest electronics manufacturer in the world. Foxconn is one which actually makes iPhones also. If you ever have seen iPhone, have you backside of ever, if you have ever, sorry, if you have ever observed on the backside of iPhone, it is written, designed in California, assembled in China. So who assembles it in China? Foxconn assembles it in China. So we gave these incentives to these companies. They came to India and they have actually started manufacturing mobile phones in India. And because of that, mobile phone exports have actually increased. And if we take the data, government's data here, we find this thing, that we were exporting $300 million of mobile phone in financial year 2018. And after that, this PLI scheme came. The mobile phone export have increased to $11 billion in financial year 23, 5 years, from $300 million to $11 billion. This is the jump that has came because of the PLI scheme. So this is a very important data that you can use in exam. And secondly, it also says that the import of mobile phones, export have increased, import has went down. So they say import was around $3.6 billion in 2018, and it has reduced to just $1.6 billion. It has been halved. Okay, so import have reduced, exports have increased. So this is a success of PLI as per government. But at the same time, Mr. Raghuram Rajan, the former RBI governor, he says this particular thing, that this is not the complete picture. What is the complete picture? He says that at the same time, if you see, we are, see, he says that okay, I accept we are importing less mobile phones, yes, but at the same time, equipments, components that are needed to make mobile phone, their import have increased. He says that display screens, display screens, cameras, batteries, printed circuit boards. Fine, all these are the components that are needed to make a mobile phone. Their import has actually increased between 21 to 23. So actually what is happening, we are importing the components, we are importing camera, battery, display, all these particular thing, processors, we are assembling them in India and then we are exporting. So they say okay, that actually we want to ensure that battery manufacturing also comes in India. Camera manufacturing also comes in India. Display manufacturing also comes in India. So all the components that are needed for making a mobile phone, those components are also to be manufactured in India, and then you have to export a mobile phone. What you are doing? You are simply importing the components, assembling those components, and then you are exporting the finished mobile product. So what actually happens? It will only create low level assembly work jobs. Low level assembly work jobs. If you want to create high level jobs, also the components are to be manufactured in India. So this is something that has been provided. But according to government, it has been provided that PLI is a young and a new scheme. It will be focusing on these things also, but over a period of time. So just in 2-3 years, all these things cannot happen. Sorry. So this is guys all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to next article. ICSSR to develop Indianized research methodology tools. Now, this particular article, guys, will see with respect to GS paper number 2, governance. GS paper number 2, governance. Okay. Now, first of all, let me give you some background. And once we understand that background, we'll go in this particular article. So basically, guys, nowadays, one particular word has become quite popular in the matters of governance, that is evidence, that is evidence based, evidence based decision making, or evidence based governance. Evidence based governance. What do we mean by the evidence based governance or the evidence based decision making? Understand this particular thing, guys. Let's say there is a particular scheme. Let's take the example of MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Under MG Narega, you provide 100 days of paid employment for unskilled type of work. Okay. Now, when we talk about MG Narega, what is objective of MG Narega? Objective of MG Narega are two. Number one, to give job assurance to people in rural India, to give job assurance to people in rural India. Okay. And second objective is to build the durable community assets. Durable community assets. By MG Narega, labor, we can do the irrigation infrastructure work in rural areas. We can build the community center and all such kind of a thing. So durable community assets. Now you are giving so much of money for MG Narega. You need to see what impact actually has been created by MG Narega on ground. You collect evidence, and on the basis of this evidence, you should decide that whether this particular scheme is to be continued or not. Whether this particular scheme is to be continued or not. So earlier, what used to happen, we started a scheme. If a state, if We don't bother to see whether the scheme is yielding some result or not. We are continuing that particular scheme for years and years. Like a smart UPSC aspirant, what he does, he follows a particular strategy and then test that particular strategy whether it is working or not. If it is working, continue that. If it is not working, change that. So in governance also, the evidence-based decision making, evidence-based governance has become quite popular today. Okay, and with the help of technology, with the help of social audit, with the help of many accountability mechanisms, this is possible also. Okay, so please, this background you need to keep in your mind because it is not provided in article. Okay, now moving on in this particular article. So basically, guys, here we have this organization, Indian Council of Social Science Research. Indian Council of Social Science Research. Now, what they have done, they have invited the research methodologies. They have invited basically research methodologies or techniques or certain solutions that how we can check whether the government schemes are effective on the ground or not, whether they are bringing some social change on the ground or not, whether they are achieving their objective on ground or not, how we can measure that particular thing, how to know that thing. So certain research proposals, certain research methodologies were invited from the researchers as well as institutions, and they have sent them. Okay, and on the basis of this particular thing, ICSSR, it wants to develop Indianized research methodology tools. What it wants to do, it wants to develop Indianized research methodology tools. Now, which scheme will be checked, which scheme's effectiveness will be checked, okay, which scheme's impact assessment will be done by these particular research methodology. So here we have the list. For example, here we have PM Ujjwala, PM Ujjwala Yojana, PM Awas Yojana, दीनदयाल अंत्योदय योजना, पीएम कृषि सिंचाई योजना, पीएम फसल बीमा योजना, किसान सम्मान निधि, फाइन ईयर ऑफ मिलेट 2023. Okay, Ayushman Bharat Jan Aushadhi Yojana. So here there is a list that has been given. You can just download this particular synoptic notes from our Telegram channel and you can access it. So basically all these particular schemes effectiveness on ground will be checked through the research methodologies that have been submitted by the institutions. Okay, so this is something that actually has been done. Now, guys, understand this particular thing that you are not required to remember the research institutions which have been selected, whose methodology have been selected, what is the technique. No, just in two lines, when you are writing any answer on governance, and when you are talking about the evidence-based governance, you can just give this particular reference. Is it clear or not? So ICSSR, it has a mandate to carry out data-driven empirical research on the social and economic impact of policies of the government. So I told you this particular thing in the start, that if the government scheme is effective or not, that we need to check. So fine, data-driven empirical research is to be done, and that methodology will now be submitted by the institution. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Guys, please tell me in the comment box that it is clear or not, and let me take some doubts also if they are there. But does it require the semiconductor and lithium to be made available in India so that it takes time since we dear, please write your doubt again because um, I'm not able to understand. But doesn't it require the semiconductor and lithium to be made available? Yes, okay. Yes, I think you are talking about the previous article on mobile phone manufacturing. Yes, if you want to manufacture a mobile phone, you need to have lithium, which is needed for batteries. You need to have semiconductors in India, which are also needed to give computational capacity to every device. Yes, that is what Raghuram Rajan is trying to say. That you also ensure that lithium manufacturing, lithium extraction is there in India. Semiconductors are also being made in India. That is exactly that he wanted to say. Okay, moving on to next article. What are the concerns about drilling in North Sea? Okay, so this particular article, guys, will take with respect to prelims mapping, as well as also GS paper number 3 environment. GS paper number 3 environment will take this particular article. Okay, so first of all, let me let's take some of the basic background information, and then we'll go in this particular article's detail. So First of all, guys, we'll focus on this particular map that we have here. Okay. So here you have North Sea. Here you have North Sea. Here you have UK, United Kingdom. So United Kingdom is on the west. Then on south, you have Belgium, you have Netherlands. Okay, then on east, there is also Germany. There is also Germany on the south. Then in east, there is Denmark. Then here you have Norway. Okay, so clockwise or anti-clockwise, you can remember the name of the important countries that are there. I have provided this here in the synoptic notes also in one paragraph I have provided you. So we have the North Sea. Now, when we talk about North Sea is an important region for mineral oil. It is an important region vis-a-vis mineral oil. And a lot of countries have already established drilling in North Sea. Drilling in North Sea. For example, Netherlands also have started drilling in North Sea region. Now, what now see, let me tell you some of even more basic information. You might be knowing that right now Russia Ukraine war is going on, and as this Russia Ukraine war is going on, West, including UK, they have taken side of Ukraine. And as they have taken side of Ukraine, Russia has stopped providing natural gas to European country. Also, Russia has also stopped providing them oil to the European countries. So therefore, many of European countries today are facing energy insecurity, And as they are facing energy insecurity, they need to identify alternative ways that how they can augment their mineral oil, natural gas, and all such kind of a thing. So in this particular direction, United Kingdom has recently announced this particular thing. Prime Minister of UK has announced this particular thing that they will be drilling oil in North Sea. They will be drilling oil in North Sea. And because of this decision of UK to drill oil in North Sea, climate activists, many of other environmental activists, they have criticized UK's this particular policy of drilling in North Sea. So this is all what this particular article is actually talking about. Now, let's take some of basic information about this particular article. Uh, so we have seen that Prime Minister has backed the plan for fossil fuel drilling of the Britain's coast in the North Sea that we have taken up. Now, there is 1958 Geneva Convention on the Continental Shelf, and this 1958 Geneva Convention on Continental Shelf allows every country that they have authority, they have rights to exploit continental shelves that is adjacent to their coastline. So UK says that as per 1958 Geneva Convention, we are authorized, we can do that particular thing. This is not a concern. Now, but the climate activists at the same time, they are providing this particular thing that why they're providing this particular thing that already we see that around the world there is climate, just a minute. But the climate activist, they're providing this particular thing that already UK is not doing much with respect to climate change, with respect to their fight against the climate change, and now they are going to do this thing. Fine. According to according to the climate activists, they say this particular thing that this drilling will lead to a threat of climate change. It will warm the ocean. First of all, you will extract oil, and when you will use that particular oil, that oil's combustion will lead to some carbon. So that will lead to climate change, that will lead to high carbon emission. At the same time, we are trying to become the carbon neutral. Fine. So that particular thing will not be achieved. Secondly, when physically you will drill oil, by that particular thing, what will happen? It will lead to the warming of oceans, and also it might lead to rise in the sea level. Okay. Now, when you are drilling, when you are warming the ocean, as the ocean will be warm, what will happen? It will melt the glaciers, ice caps. So therefore, the sea level will rise. Also, it has been said that it will also pose a direct risk to marine biodiversity. There will be the oil spills, oil leakages, all that will happen. It will all threaten the nearby biodiversity. Also, what will happen? It will also be indirectly posing risk to coral reefs, shellfish, marine ecosystem. It might make water more acidic because of the carbon pollution that will happen in this particular drilling. So therefore, climate activists, they are criticizing, UK vis-a-vis their extraction or drilling plan of North Sea is concerned. Moreover, UK is also being criticized that already their national adaptation program is not properly prepared. What is this national adaptation program? National adaptation program requires the government to prepare the country for climate change. So already their national adaptation program is not perfectly made. They have not prepared the country for climate change. And now they are again going with this particular kind of a thing. So because of this particular thing, they have been criticized. And according to Climate Action Tracker, they say that UK's climate action plan is not consistent with the Paris Agreement of 2015. They are already not doing sufficient to stop the climate degradation. And now this thing will lead to a added negative impact on climate. So this is something that has happened. So basically, guys, this can also be seen as the double standards by the developed country. Now, these developed country, they always impose conditionalities on developing countries such as India, that India should do more, should do more, should do more. But at the same time, developed countries themselves are not doing sufficient that has to be done. So this shows the double standards. And this also becomes a dispute between developing and developed world. Okay, that is all about it. And now moving to next article. The BRICS test, the BRICS test for India's multipolarity rhetoric. This is one article. We'll take it for GS paper number 2, international relations. We'll take this particular article with respect to the international groupings. We'll take this particular article with respect to the international groupings. Okay. There is one more article here. There is one more article here, and the article says all eyes, all eyes on possible Xi Modi meet as PM reaches South Africa today. This one more article is also there. However, guys, this particular article doesn't contains much of substance. Article is just talking about this particular thing that see, the BRICS summit is expected to take now the BRICS summit as it is taking place in as it is taking place in South Africa. Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi will be reaching there. Also, the Xi Jinping will also be coming there. Now, whether Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping will held meet or not. Okay, what will be itinerary of Prime Minister? Will he be interacting with China or not? So that particular itinerary is not finalized, and all people are just anticipating this particular thing that what will be the optics of India and China at BRICS. So this article is just talking about that particular thing. The statements given by the opposition MPs and all such kind of a things they have just been given here. Beyond that, nothing much substance is there. Okay. Now, talking on this particular BRICS thing. Okay. Now, first of all, when we talk about BRICS, BRICS stand for BRICS. So BRICS stand for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And South Africa. What is BRICS? BRICS is a forum. BRICS is a forum where all these five countries come together and they discuss the common issues. As we talk about BRICS, I told you BRICS is a forum. BRICS is not a formal institution or a formal body. So therefore, BRICS will not have a formal secretariat. Okay. It is a forum where discussions will happen. When we talk about BRICS, the word BRICS was coined by Jim O'Neill, which was economist from Goldman Sachs. So Jim O'Neill coined this particular term BRICS. Now, when we talk about BRICS, it has been provided that this BRICS summit of 2023, which is being held from August 22 to 24, it is an important milestone which will prove that whether the BRICS is still relevant today or not. First of all, guys, telling you this particular thing, BRICS up till now has been seen that it has been more or less an empty gesture. So there are some criticism of BRICS. It has been said that the ability of BRICS to reorder the global economy in any significant manner is deeply suspect. It did not give any economic contribution. Secondly, BRICS' appetite to create economic agreements is limited. Much of FTAs, much of economic agreements have also not been signed by the BRICS or within the BRICS members. So economic potential of BRICS up till now has been limited. BRICS impact on economic order up till now has been limited. Also, BRICS has not been very much able to influence the global geopolitical issues that are there. So every place, BRICS has just had a very mute response. It has a very weak response. We need to see in 2023 that out of this BRICS summit, whether some important thing comes or not. Now, first of all, as we talk about, guys, the present times are extraordinary times. Why they are extraordinary times? Because you see this particular thing. On one hand, there is a Russia-Ukraine war that is going on. Because of Russia-Ukraine war, the world got divided, world got polarized. On second hand, there is rivalry between USA and China that has increased a lot. Third, there is global inflation. Fourth, there is the post-pandemic recovery that is going on. All these global crises are going on right now. Okay. And as these global crises are right now going on, okay, what is the stand of India? Everybody is waiting for that. Everybody is waiting for that. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that all those particular global issues I have talked about, talked with you. Then after that, there are also the middle powers, regional heavyweights, and the outliers that are also weighing on their options. Now, middle powers, when we talk about countries such as middle power, here we have the name of countries such as India, Japan. Japan is largely the middle power. So these middle powers, they are searching that what type of stand, what type of position they should take. Regional heavyweights, for example, when we talk about China, China is a regional heavyweight, which China wants to become a superpower, but as of today, China is a regional heavyweight. India is also a regional heavyweight. So regional heavyweights, outliers, the countries which have performed exceptionally good on certain aspects. So these countries are looking that what should be their best bid, what should be the best strategy for them. Okay, and they are also exploring option that what they should use, which platform they should use, which is the platform where they belong. And in that particular thing, whether the BRICS is relevant for them or not, whether the BRICS is relevant for them or not, that also they are now searching. Now, as India is in the BRICS, guys, understand this particular thing. First of all, basically around the world, India's diplomacy is now being tested. Why Indian diplomacy is being tested? Understand this particular thing. You see, right now, Russia-Ukraine war is going on, which has divided the world. Now, on one hand, India is a partner under Quad. India is the partner under the Quad, in which there is Australia, Japan, USA, and India. And Quad is outrightly against China and against Russia. So India is member under Quad. At the same time, India is also member under G20. But in G20, Russia is also there. Russia is also there. Then India is also invited in G7. Though India is not a formal member of G7, but India is invited in G7. Then India is also participating in BRICS. Now you see in BRICS, which countries we have? We have Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Now Russia and China, these are two countries against which the West is antagonized. Now we are engaging with West in G7, G20, and Quad, and their enemy, that is Russia and China, we are engaging with them in BRICS, we are engaging them in SCO. So India is participating in all these organizations at the same time, and at the same time, India is also participating in Global South. Fine. So how India will balance all these particular things? Now, this is something that is happening. India, number one, doesn't want to be seen as it is a anti-West or anti-West nation. And at the same time, India also wants to maintain their independence in their foreign policy. As of today, as of now, India has balanced all these particular organizations under, under their strategic autonomy concept. Under strategic autonomy concept. Now, what is meaning of strategic autonomy? Strategic autonomy. India says this thing that we don't have any permanent friend, we don't have any permanent enemy. We will choose our allies, our partners on the basis of our need and requirement. Strategic autonomy. And on the basis of strategic autonomy, India is taking forward all these particular organization and groupings. Okay. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that I told you. India's active participation in these non-Western multilateral forums, that is, we are participating in BRICS and SCO. We are also participating in Global South. It must also be seen as India's response to undemocratic and inequitable governance structures of post-Second World War. Now see this thing, United Nations, World Bank, and many of the institutions, they are dominated by Western interest, USA's interest. So also India has many number of times talked about reforming the multilateral institutions which are dominated by Western interest. So all these institutions where India is supporting, it should be seen that we are supporting it because we are against undemocratic institutions of West. This perception should be given, but at the same time, India also need to under keep this particular thing in mind, that their opposition should not be seen as anti-West or against the West. So you criticize US, but don't be the enemy of US. You criticize the institution where the West is having their hegemony, but don't be anti-West. This is something, that very fine balance India has to maintain in this particular time. Now further guys, when we talk about India understand this particular thing. India is in the middle of an geopolitical fault line. India's interests are actually on both the sides. India's interests are on the side of USA. We need technology from them. But India's interests are also on the side of Russia and China, because Russia is an important defense partner for India. China, we also need a lot of, we have dependence on China on many of the imports. So we are in middle. Our interest is towards the US also. Our interests are towards the China, Russia also. Okay, so India has to balance that particular thing. So India can either be a bridge between the great divides. See, one hand we have Russia, US, Russia, China. One hand we have Russia, China. On one hand we have US and West. So India can be a bridge between these two. India can be a bridge between these two. Okay, or India could be seen as an opportunist. India could be seen as an opportunist, that India is trying to take advantage of both. So India needs to very carefully create their image that we are a bridge power, not as the one who lacks loyalty, not as the one who is trying to take advantage, but we want to make our image as that we are the bridge power. Then, secondly, as we talk about specifically under the BRICS, we need, that under the BRICS, there is a China also. But when we talk about China and India, there is a lot of imbalance between China and India. Understand this particular thing. China, it has, due to their Belt and Road Initiative, due to their diplomatic bandwidth, due to their economic power, China is a China has a lot of economic clout. And here, India has to match China. Moreover, guys, India criticizes China as undemocratic and on many fronts, but at the same time, many countries are willing to engage with China because of the China's huge resources. We should not antagonize these countries. Okay, so very careful craftsmanship, very careful diplomatic skills are needed in India in this present times. So, guys, this particular article might look very small, but if you take out the dimensions which come out of this particular article, this is very content dense kind of topic that we have just discussed here. And I hope that with the help of the background and the fillers, you are able to understand it. Now, moving on to next article. Okay, then we have this particular article, the Saudi Arabia UAE become the Saudi Arabia UAE divide becomes public. Now, guys, one thing understand this, that as we talk about the IR international relation for our GS paper number 2, largely you are required to see those particular articles where India's international interest is concerned, or where Indian foreign policy is concerned. However, just the relations between two countries, okay, where Indian interest is not there, we need not to go too much in that detail. Now, this particular article is just talking about the divide between Saudi Arabia and UAE. Okay, Indian dimension is largely not that much there. So, therefore, no need to go too much in detail. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the Saudi Arabia and UAE, both are the regional powers, okay, and Saudi Arabia and UAE, there is a kind of a conflict that goes on between these two countries. So they have been the natural rivals. Both are the members of the GCC also, Gulf Cooperation Council. But over the years, what has happened? The rift, the confrontation, conflict between Saudi Arabia and UAE, it has become more and more clear. It has become more and more vocal. Fine. Now, here some examples have been given that how confrontation between Saudi Arabia and UAE has increased over the last few years. Now, First, we see this particular thing. In 2017, Saudi Arabia wanted that under OPEC plus, what is OPEC plus? OPEC stands for Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. So OPEC plus is a cartel of grouping of the countries which are the major producers and exporters of oil. Now, from time to time, OPEC and OPEC plus they impose production cuts. Now, you might be knowing that the principle of demand and supply. If anything's supply, see, if anything's demand is high and supply is low, the price will be up. But if demand is good, if demand is less and supply is more, the price will go down. So what happens from time to time? The oil's demand, it goes down. And when the oil's demand goes down, the supply also has to cut down. Otherwise, if supply is here and demand is here, what will happen? The oil price will go down. So whenever the demand for oil go down, supply has to be reduced. Supply cuts have to be imposed. And that decision is taken by the OPEC plus. So in 2017, what happened? OPEC plus decided to impose the cut on oil production. But UAE rejected it. UAE said this particular thing, that we are investing heavily in increasing our oil production and therefore we will not impose the cut. So here Saudi Arabia got offended because it was a Saudi Arabia's proposal. So Saudi Arabia got offended here. Then after that, also on Yemen. Now, when the UAE also withdrew its troops from Yemen, and has also supported the secessionist movement in Yemen. Now, Saudi Arabia is very much concerned in this particular thing. Okay, so because of that, also Saudi Arabia and UAE divide has increased. Then also UAE has also tried to become a regional power and has increased its cooperation with many of the regional countries. For example, it is it has taken control over ports in Yemen. Socotra Island in the Gulf of Aden, it has taken up. Perim Island at the mouth of Babel and Mandab, it has taken up. Also, it has established its bases in Eritrea, Somaliland. And by this particular thing, what is happening now? See this thing, guys, in international relation, often there the notion of zero sum game prevails. What is this zero sum game? Zero sum game means that the power of one is coming at the cost of the other power. If your power is increasing, my power automatically will get diluted down. So here there is this zero sum notion that comes between the Saudi Arabia and UAE also. As UAE is expanding its footprint, Saudi Arabia is getting concerned. And basically it has also been provided that now basically their divides, their confrontation, now they are now their competition is touching the domestic areas also. Now they are seeking regional primacy. They are basically, guys, when we talk about UAE always promises itself as a destination for international businesses. It has always welcomed the international business, international corporates with open arm. Now the same thing also Saudi Arabia is trying to do. Saudi Arabia is trying to become the principal regional hub for trade. It is attracting the investments and is directly giving competition to UAE. So on all these particular dimensions, we see that the divide between Saudi Arabia and UAE has become more and more clear, has become more and more apparent. Okay, that is about it. And now moving to next article. India ASEAN agree to review goods trade pact by 2025 to fix asymmetry. Now, this particular article, guys, we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, India ASEAN trade relation. Guys, just a one-liner concept has just come in this particular article. So basically, see this particular thing, that as we talk about India ASEAN, ASEAN stands for Association for Southeast Asian Nation. Now, India has a free trade agreement with ASEAN, but guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the trade between India and ASEAN, there is a trade asymmetry that prevails. What is this trade asymmetry? India has a trade deficit with ASEAN. We import more from ASEAN countries and we export less. So there is a trade deficit, trade asymmetry that is there. Now this trade asymmetry is to be corrected. That trade deficit that we have, it is to be corrected. And for that particular thing, fine, India and ASEAN countries, they have reached an agreement to review their free trade pact for goods. So the free trade agreement will be reviewed and this review will be done before 2025. And a joint committee of ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement, ATIGA, they have signed a roadmap that by 2025 we will review the FTA so that this trade asymmetry, trade deficit that is there, it can be reduced. This is something that has been provided. Now, whether it will be successful, whether it will be completed with that deadline or not, that we need to see over a period of time. Okay. Beyond that, guys, nothing much has come in this particular article. And then we have mains practice question for today. So question reads, India is located right in the middle of emerging geopolitical fault line. In this context, in this, a minute, fine. In this context, explain how the challenge before New Delhi is to choose between a China-centric or a West-centric world order or balance the two. So this is, guys, this question is for GS paper number 2, 10 marker. That is all, guys, about it. And with this, we come to an end to the today's news analysis. Now, guys, we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. And I hope that you are enjoying our newspaper video. And guys, thank you so much for leaving your comments and for your likes. I am really grateful for your support. Please keep on supporting us. Thank you so much.